Good night, everyone. Doing tonight. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Aaron J. Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a short news and a word on tonight. And this amazing. Three presidents came together to put this fundraiser together. Mr. President Bennett, they raised they raised a record of $26 million. Now that's amazing. $26 million, at start. Sudden New York campaign event. So they was in New York, the event with this campaign. So the President Bennett, former President Obama, and former President Bill Clinton. That's three amazing presidents. Participate in the discussion monitoring, by Steffi during a campaign fundraiser. Now, even at Radio City Music Hall, so it's amazing. You got these three presidents together. These three presidents came together. Two is the former president, and then our president, Mr. Bennett, came together, and help him out with this campaign. And it raised up $26 million. That's amazing. That's amazing to raise that money up. You know, and I do have a word on you. It's all about Jesus this week. It's all about Jesus every day. But today is Good Friday. Today is Good Friday, and Easter is Sunday. So Jesus before Pilate. He had life, he had power, for life and death. Jesus was in his hands. He had the opportunity to let Jesus free, or give him to someone else. Because he had the power to make that decision. So Matthew chapter 26, 11 through 26. Meanwhile, Jesus had stood before the governor, until the governor asked him, "Are you the king of Jews?" You have to say so. Jesus replied, now they're gonna put all kind of accusation on Jesus, and Jesus still gonna be silent. Jesus remained silent, barely saying anything in his own defense. It was his defense, but he chose not to defend himself. He do better than me, because that's what I got to start doing, silence. No matter what people say, sometimes the best thing to go silent. And sometimes you have to speak up, depending on what kind of situation it is. Now Jesus know it's right. He felt like he didn't need to stay who he was, but he been on the earth for a while. He said they ought to know. And so when he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he give no answer. He just didn't want to say nothing. He didn't want to answer them. He didn't want to give them no kind of response at all. And standing before Pilate, the religion leader accused Jesus of a different crime than the one for which they had arrested him. They had arrested him for blasphemous, claiming to God. So they think he was God. So they wants to know, who are you? Are you the Jews? Are you the king? So then Pilate had asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony that of her bringing against you?" So he let him know. They make an accusation against you. Do you hear that? Jesus still was silent. He was still silent. He didn't want to say nothing. Now Pilate he wanted Jesus to answer. He wanted Jesus to answer, so he had every reason to hear, the other side of the story. The Jewish leader were basically accusing Jesus of being rabbi who was trying to stir up the people to overthrow to Rome. But Jesus had made no reply. Not even to a single charge. To the great amazing of the governor. They were making all kind of accusations. And Jesus had the right to defend himself, but he chose not to. He was silent. So Jesus silent fulfilled the words of the prophet Isaiah. Now Jesus didn't even try not to defend himself. No matter what they say about him, he still was silent. No matter what he was saying. And sometimes with us, we gonna say something. But Jesus chose not to say something, not even defend himself. The power of life and death was in the hands of Pilate. He had two prisoners. So Pilate, the high priest, he had power to let Jesus go. His lack of courage, to stand against the crowd. He was scared of the crowd. He was scared of the crowd because he had the power to let Jesus go. Now he got two prisoners. He gonna let the wrong one go. He should have let Jesus go, but then again, it was written. Jesus had to go through it. You know. So at the time, they had aware knowing prisoners whose name was Jesus in Baltimore. Baltimore. Now Baltimore was on a journey with Paul. He was on a journey with Paul. So now he was in prison for a crime. But Jesus have not done a crime. He have no kind of sin in him. But Pilate had turned over the crowd, offering to release of one. Now Baltimore had committed murder doing, so Jesus' only political crime was to acknowledge Baltimore was guilty of 4 more. He had 4 more crimes. Jesus had no crime. So Pilate had hope to free Jesus, and he thought he was doing the right thing, giving it to the crowd. He thought, see, in his mind, in his dream, he know Jesus is innocent. So in his mind, he wants to release Jesus. But he thought he was doing the right thing by giving it to the crowd. So Pilate is trying to figure out what to do with Jesus. Now, who has been, brought to him by the Jews, the religious leaders. Now, you know who that is. That's the chosen one. That's the Israelite. So they is the main one that, rejected Jesus. So they were demanding a death sentence. So Pilate cannot find anyone wrong with Jesus. He couldn't find, Jesus in his care. So he couldn't find nothing wrong or what kind of crime he did. So Pilate cannot find, anything wrong with Jesus. And Jesus won't say much in his own defense. So, for he knew it was out of his hands, the interest of that they had handed, not Jesus over to him. So Pilate had understood that the Jewish religion leader was trying to use Roman power, giving his existence to awareness of Jesus. Now Pilate had seen through that false accusation. Now he saw through that false accusation, but he turned them over, and then he gonna think about that false accusation. So it was too late. He can't get Jesus back. Once he turned them over to Romans, that was it. So while Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife had sent him this message. Now the wife had a dream too. Now don't have anything to do with that innocent man. Now she tell him, don't have anything to do with that innocent man. That man is innocent. So for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him. Now God sent that dream to her. So God didn't want Pilate. He didn't want him to let Jesus go. because it's written. He needed Jesus to go over there to the cross. So he put the dream in her, in Pilate. He had a dream too, that this man is innocent. Let him go. And that was all part of God's plan. You know, no, he said, keep him there. But Pilate did not release Jesus. He released Baltimore. He thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was doing the right thing. But his dream, God told him to keep Jesus. He innocent. No, he told him to release Jesus. He innocent. But he didn't. He released Baltimore. For a leader who was supposed to administer justice, probably have to make the right decision. His conscience and his wife had told him Jesus was innocent, and Roman law said he was innocent. The man should not be put to death. Now, he was afraid of the crowd. He was afraid of the crowd. And sometimes that's how people do. Sometimes people go by. When one person, they're always going to have one leader, don't like you, and they're going to pass it on to everybody else. Next thing you know, you got a whole army. It's saying they don't like you, crucified. And see, that's how it is. One person didn't like Jesus, and they persuade everybody else, And so that's how it was. They all came together in a crowd. And so that's why Pilate said he was scared. He was scared. He was scared of the crowd because they came together shouting, And so he had a bad nightmare that he was suffer. That was he said he had a great deal of the dream, and that's what it was, But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to act for Baltimore and to have Jesus executed. So the elders, they persuaded the crowd, to release Baltimore, and they wanted to keep Jesus there. But Jesus was innocent. Baltimore did the crime, but they want to release him because the crowd hated Jesus so much, they wanted him executed. So Pilate had offered the people a church. Every year at the Passover, he released one prisoner in Rome, custody as a sign of good, and a faith to people. Now he have given, the crowd a church. Now he is a Pilate. He is a judge. He's a governor. But he gonna give the crowd a church. He gonna get the crowd a church. What's your decision? What y'all want me to do? He could shout, executed. They wanted Jesus. Now, which other two do you want to release to you? Ask the governor of Baltimore. They answer. So they're gonna release Baltimore, the one who have the crime. So people chose Baltimore. Now, what should I do? So then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah? So Pilate asks, they are all answer, crucify him. They released Baltimore. So people said, what should I do with Jesus? So they released Baltimore, and now what I supposed to do with Jesus? And so the people had said there was a coach, that Jesus should be crucified. Remember the elders. The elder was the one that told them to chose Baltimore, let him go and let Jesus stay. So that's what they're saying now. They were coached, to have Jesus crucified. So now they feel the pain. They feel what they chose now. They feel like they did the wrong idea, So why? What the crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. But they shouted and louder, crucify him. So that's why he was scared of the crowd. The crowd shouted louder and louder, crucify him, crucify him. And the man ain't did nothing. Pilate had truly wanted to release Jesus. He really wanted to release Jesus. Because of his dream, he really was supposed to release Jesus. However, he made a fatal mistake. When chosen, when he chose to involve the crowd, he wasn't supposed to ask the crowd. He wasn't supposed to ask the crowd. Now he know Jesus innocent, but he still let Baltimore go when he should have let Jesus go. So when Pilate had saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead a roar for stored. Now he took water and washed his hands, and went in front of the crowd. I am innocent of this man blood, and he said it is in your responsibility. So now he washed his hand with the situation. He know the man is innocent, but he give them the responsibility to take care of it. He washed his hand, he gone. He don't want to have nothing to do with it. Pilate knew. He knew he made a mistake. By letting Jesus go. Didn't let Jesus go. Now he washed his hands and said, "It is your responsibility." Now all the people answer his blood, is on us and our children. Represent the people of Israel rejection of Jesus the Messiah. Now there was the one who reject Jesus and knowing that's God's son. Knowing they're the chosen people from God. And they're going against God and wants to crucify his son. That's the main one you thought wasn't going to come against Jesus. The leader of Israelite, came against Jesus. And so then they released Baltimore, to them, but he had Jesus fall and handed him over to be crucified. Baltimore deserved the punishment for the crime. Jesus had no sin in him. But he had a penalty of death. And so a lot of times, innocent people can be put in jail, be put to death. Look at Joseph. They lied on him and talking about he had that woman. He did not touch that woman, but he served time. Innocent people always, and they can make it sound and look so good. Joseph served time for a crime he did not commit, for an incident he did not commit. And Jesus is serving time and about to be crucified for something he did not do. So a lot of time, innocent people just get caught up, and they don't find out. Instead of saying he innocent, but don't want to look into it. Don't want to look into it and see if he really innocent. They did that with Joseph. Just because she was a king wife, they automatically gonna believe. And so that's the story of Jesus going to jail to get crucified. It's God plan. It's God plan. And so they have God give them that dream. They're ready to keep Jesus in there, to let him go where he needs to go as part of the plan. Because if Jesus would have, if they would have let Jesus go, God would have to come up with something else to get Jesus back where he's supposed to be at. So if part of the plan, he had to stay. We all sorry that happened, but he died for all our sin. And a man that served a crime, they had to release him and let him go. And sometimes life ain't fair. Special for righteous people is not fair. But we had to still stand fast. Still have to pray, and God will make a way. But he is the judge. But God can't get in this situation because it's part of his plan. So we talk about these three presidents did an amazing job, at the campaign fundraiser. They raised up $26 million. That was great. It just was amazing to see Obama, former Obama and former Bill Clinton, and then with President Joe Biden, they all came together to help, and people was amazed to see this other two former presidents. So they picked the right one to come together. You see, when you come together, you can do amazing things. And that's good that these presidents can come together. And this another thing we put on being Mr. President being the list. You know, this fundraiser. So they did a amazing job raising this $26 million, and did an amazing job. Having these wonderful presidents that came together. So that's all I have for you today. I'll see you on the next video.